In a video a few months back, I mentioned I was thinking about quitting the bus project. Well... For the reasons I outlined in that previous video, I decided to give up on the bus project. And then I gave the bus away to someone local-ish who wants it for the engine and transmission. It's a Caterpillar C7 engine and Allison transmission. They're going to take it out of the bus and put it in their own project. And then after they do that, they're going to take the body off and scrap it for me. It's great. It's like a concierge dismantling service. If you watched that previous video where I was thinking about quitting the bus project and you thought that it sounds like I'd already made up my mind, well, I didn't know it at the time, but I had already made up my mind. And now the bus is gone. Look how much room there is in here now. What are you going to do with all this space? This building's going to be my new workshop. I've been saying for a little while now that once the bus is done, this building's going to be my workshop because it's better than the current building that is my current workshop. About a year and a half ago, I redid this entire building. Added walls, added like 18 inches of insulation all around, added climate controls over there, new lighting. And now this room is just better than the one that is my current workshop. And this building is better set up for workshop, as in having one car in at a time, than it would be for car storage because there's only one door and it's on that end, on the skinny bit of the building. So that building will be new car storage, and by new car storage, I mean it will be just car storage, and this building will just be my workshop. I know it still looks like a mess in here, but I've actually done quite a bit of cleaning up already. I removed a lot of trash, and I hauled off a lot of scrap metal. 760 pounds worth of scrap metal, to be exact, and about 80% of that was pieces from the bus. And all that remains of the bus are these two windows. I need to do something about this nasty exposed insulation here. This seat, which I'm not really sure why I kept. I wasn't actually supposed to fall over. This... Where am I looking? This diesel flap and this very expired license plate. Oh yeah, and these 4 panes of glass that are nice and curved. The reason they're curved is because these are bus windows. I put them in the kiln to anneal them like I did with all the other bus windows, except these 4 pieces were too long to sit horizontal, so I had to put them in there vertically, and they melted a little bit. I don't know what I'm going to do with these. I should probably just throw them away. All right, the layout for the new shop. I only have a rough idea where everything's going to go, and I'll work through it later as I'm actually using the space. But the plan for now is, right about here, just far enough in from the door where I can park my pickup in here, is going to be where the lift is moved to. I'm not buying a second one. I'm removing the lift from the adjacent building and bringing it over here. Right about here will be nothing. Wide open spaces. This region I'm going to call Montana or Wyoming. Back here on the back wall where the plasma table currently is, I'm going to take this down, I think today, and move it over there where that shelving is. I'm going to put my presentation backdrop here. This will be the new presentation station area. Like I just said, I think I'm going to move that plasma table to right here along this wall where this shelf currently sits. And then over here, next to the metal walling, is going to be metalworking stuff. So my welders, the bandsaw there. I hope to get a belt grinder at some point. Over here, the CNC router and the laser, I think, are going to stay in exactly the same place. There's nothing wrong with their placement. I already got a new toolbox from Menards. I was very excited about this. You may not think it's a big deal, and really it isn't, but I was excited. I don't know, everything else I'll figure out as I go. Oh, okay. This video is sponsored by Factor. I guess the river's a bit up because this is normally a beach. Factor meals are ready-to-heat meals delivered straight to your door in a chilled box. When you're ready to eat your delicious Factor meal, all you do is pick your meal, in my case, Indian buttered chicken, which I'm really excited to try. You slide off the cover, stab the film to vent it, pop it in the microwave, wait 2 minutes, and after minimal effort, you have a delicious, ready-to-eat meal ready to go. Let's try this out. I'm so excited. Oh, it's so good. I love buttered chicken. I'm extremely indecisive, so I love factor meals when I can't decide where to go to eat or what to cook. I just go in the fridge, pick out one of these bad boys, heat it up for 2 minutes, and I've got a meal ready to go. If you want to try Factor for yourself, and I highly recommend you do, go to Factor75.com and use code AgingWheels50 at checkout for 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month of boxes. That's AgingWheels50 at Factor75.com for 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month of boxes. You won't regret it. Now, you know, this river scene is really nice and picturesque, and there's some lovely sounds down here, but it does smell vaguely of raw sewage, which I don't like, but this is offsetting it quite nicely. The presentation backdrop is going to go right about here, which means it'll block these 2 outlets. So to keep that from happening, I'm going to move these 2 outlets down there, so they'll still be accessible with the backdrop in place. I could just cover them up, but more outlets. Every tool's a hammer. Oh, I have terrible aim. Oh, I almost forgot. I gotta turn on the breaker while the camera's recording in case I included some shorts in my wiring. 3, 2, 1. Hey! This looks a little dark in here for some reason. I might have to play with the lighting a little bit, but it's here. You know, that backdrop might just look worse because it's surrounded by bright white now instead of dingy beige and clutter. Also, I'm so glad to get that backdrop out from underneath this mini split. You hear that? Yeah, I turned off this mini split every time I went to film, every single time, and the number of times I forgot to turn it back on afterward is innumerable. It's like I never even moved. No, it's very obviously different. The surround of the backdrop is now bright white. By the time this video comes out, I probably will have already released a video filmed here in this new location without any explanation of the move. So the comments on that video will be fun. But now you know, I moved to a new building. That's why the location's different. As soon as I said move to a new building, I realized that the layout of my shop might not be clear because they are 2 distinct buildings, but they're also conjoined. Anyway, here's the shop that you're used to seeing. There's the Polski Fiat, the Robin, the Escape up on the lift. That's the location of my old presentation station back there. And now it's just a sad piece of black acrylic in front of what would be a window. My battery's dying. I see that now. And moving into here, I just kicked my camera tripod as I'm holding it. Also, there's the wood shop over there behind that door. But through here is the bus room. And when I say the buildings are conjoined, I mean the buildings are conjoined. If you give me 5 seconds to walk to the other side of the room, I can show you the outside of the old building. They added this one on later at some point, and my favorite feature about this is this right here. They added on to what used to be a paint booth, and rather than do anything about the gutters, they just had the gutters be inside the new building. It runs down into the floor, covered by this steel plate here. Who designed this? In case you were wondering what it looked like underneath the steel plate, that is from the floor drain from that building, and I believe the floor drain from outside just flows in here into an open pit, and then that pipe goes outside, some 40 feet that way. And of course, the bottom of the gutter. This is such a stupid design. Why didn't they just reconfigure the gutters or something? I hate whoever came up with this. I don't like them. But you know what this means? I got a pit in my shop again. Little baby pit, but I got a pit in my shop. You're going to have to be a long-time viewer to know what I'm talking about. Welcome to my sheet steel stash. These tall skinny panels right here, I don't remember what I bought these for. They're not to complete a new wall on the bus, because that's what those panels are for. I don't remember why I bought these. Regardless, I don't need them anymore, and they're the perfect size to cover up this insulation abscess. I don't know why this panel's missing. It's been missing since before I moved into the shop, but I'm going to cover it up. Well, it doesn't look great, but it looks better, and that's all I was going for. And yes, I am going to leave it totally unpainted for character. and not at all because I'm too lazy. Unfortunately, I couldn't attach it up there because the purlin to screw into is behind the gutter, so I have no access to it. I've done some organizing off camera. I pushed all my metalworking stuff and the air compressor over to this side in this little area. I filed away all my green stuff to these two things, put my cabinet over here, and then put up this crappy little shelf that mounts to the wall so I have some place to put stuff. But now focus goes on to electrical because the lift people are coming tomorrow to move the lift from that room where it currently sits with an escape on it into here. And I positioned the pickup right where the lift is going to be so I have an idea where it's going to go. Flip off the 100 amp breaker supplying that sub panel. Install the new breaker. All right, that's done. It goes from the sub panel up to the beam, over on the purlin, to a junction box where it drops down to an indeterminate point where the lift will be roughly. The escape has not been down off this lift in well over a year. I think it's something like a year and a half. While not exactly the scenario I imagined it coming down, this is still exciting. So here goes. Problem! The concrete under this post, just like in the other building, is not thick enough. That's the same problem I had where the lift used to be. Under this leg, the concrete floor was not thick enough. So I had to jackhammer out this square section and pour a foot-thick pad of concrete. That's why this concrete around this leg looks different than the rest of the floor. They measured it before installing the anchor bolts in here, and it was at the minimum thickness. But as they started tightening down the anchor bolts, they kept pulling up and pulling up and pulling up, and it was close enough that they made it my decision as to whether or not I wanted to pour a thicker pad of concrete here, but the choice on that is obvious. The concrete needs some time to cure, so while that's curing, I can add some much needed power outlets. This is just an extension of the existing circuit that existed on the wall to lead up to the garage door opener. Oh yeah, I added a garage door opener to this door. It didn't have one before. Now you might not think a garage door opener is very interesting, and you'd be right. That's why I didn't film any of the installation, but this is a huge upgrade. Anyway, let's turn on the circuit, see if it sparks. 3, 2, 1, go! Nothing happened! Yay! I'm working on a live panel. New breaker. And power on. Nothing happened. And the lift is in! I did not think for a minute that they were going to come back out and finish installing the lift because I told them that I poured this concrete pad myself and they did not like that. But I told them what concrete I used, the procedure I went through and everything. They gave it a week to cure, and this morning he came out, drilled it into it to test it, and he said, oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with this, and then finished installing the lift. I've got a lift in here now, which means I can do this extremely useful task. And what happened almost immediately after the lift install was finished? The Via V-Trucks guys showed up and I worked on that project. And now the shop is a huge mess again. Like a shop should be, really. I'm not done setting up this shop yet. I want to work in here a little bit more, figure out the workflow before I fully figure out where everything's going to go. I'm sure you'll see this space evolve over time, but as of right now, it's perfectly usable and it's super exciting. This building, because it's a little bit cramped, a little bit dingy, a little bit cluttered, and I'm surrounded by several unfinished projects, is not the most inspiring place to work. This building is wide open. It's bright. It will serve as permanent storage to no cars. I'm excited to do stuff in here. I'm sure the feeling part of that is temporary, but regardless, this is a better workshop. If you couldn't tell, I don't regret giving up on the bus project at all. I know some of you will be upset by this decision, but for me, I know I made the right choice. I got rid of a project that I didn't want to work on anymore. I didn't want the end result of anymore. It was weighing me down mentally, and in exchange for giving up on that big project, I essentially got a whole new workshop. One question remains though. I used to call this room the bus dungeon, but now it's neither busful or dungeony, so what should I call it? The best idea I've heard so far comes from Sean, who said I should call it the Busless Not Dungeon. What do you think? You have any better ideas? Or should I just call it the Busless Not Dungeon? Or maybe we should just call it The Shop. Now, that's too simple. I gotta have a clever name.